Well, let's speak to Anne Kirstine Rønn from the Middle East Centre at the London School of Economics. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, I just want to get an idea about who Riyad Salameh is and what he's been accused of by Germany and by others. What can you tell us?
Well, Salameh is, first of all, said to be one of the responsible figures behind the economic crisis that have thrown big parts of the Lebanese population into deep poverty. And he's currently being charged of money laundering and embezzlement. But it's important to stress that his responsibility for the crisis actually goes beyond these charges. So Salameh is the architect behind the so-called financial engineering policies, which are seen as a main driver of the Lebanese crisis. And these policies, briefly explained, ensured that private banks in Lebanon, which are largely owned by the ruling elite, were paid artificially high interest rates for the dollar deposits they had placed in the central bank. And that was a way for the central bank to attract enough dollars to keep the value of the Lebanese pound stable. But it also resulted in the accumulation of wealth in the bank sector and among rich depositors who were offered sky-high interest rates for their deposits in Lebanese banks. And we're talking over 10%. So it's really something that gives incentives for them to place their monies in the bank rather than investing them in Lebanese businesses.
He's been in post as the central bank chief for 3 decades now. How has he managed to stay in that position for so long?
Well, he's deeply connected to the Lebanese political elite also. He was appointed by then Prime Minister Rafiq al-Hariri back in 1993 and has maintained his connections with these same elites. And these policies that I explained before, the financial engineering, has also greatly benefited the elites. So the elites also have an incentive and an interest in keeping him in power because he's basically not just protecting his own private wealth, but also the wealth of the entire corrupt political elite in Lebanon.
I think what people will be wondering when we say that Germany's issued an arrest warrant and actually other European countries are investigating, France has also issued an arrest warrant. Why are they so interested in this issue and his handling of the finances in Lebanon?
Well, one of the reasons is that European countries have been pouring money into Lebanon and are very interested in also trying to stabilize the Lebanese economy. Lebanon has been promised financial resources several times around, and in order to get access to these resources, they need to deliver financial accountabilities and reforms. So European countries are interested in finding out or improving the transparency of the Lebanese economy so that they can stabilize the country. Essentially, there's a security interest for European countries in keeping the Lebanese economy as stable as it can, because a destabilization of Lebanon could ultimately result in various security threats, including refugee streams from the country. But essentially, Riad Salameh also has money in Swiss banks. So the Swiss bank sector is also connected to this money laundering and embezzlement that Riad Salameh and his brother are currently charged with.
But the question is, I suppose, can these arrest warrants ever be carried out? I mean, will he ever be arrested as long as he's in Lebanon?
Well, chances are very slim because Lebanon has no interest and hasn't expressed interest in delivering or handing Salameh over to any European country. Salameh himself says this is a violation of Lebanon's sovereignty. There's also a domestic investigation going on inside Lebanon. So Lebanese judges are also trying to probe Riad Salameh, and that investigation also has very slim chances of succeeding as the entire political establishment is essentially working against the investigators.
So when he's got so much support from the government around him there, is there any chance of him no longer being in that position, that position of power that is head of the central bank? Because actually, I think his term is almost up, isn't it? And he'll be up presumably for reselection soon. Is there any chance of him, not being reselected?
Well, I would say even if he was not being reselected, his follower would probably not be any better. And this is the story of the Lebanese political system, and this is also the message of the popular protests that Lebanon has experienced over the past years. Namely, you can replace the faces or the names, but the system itself that is upholding the corruption and resulting in the Lebanese crisis is larger than the actual people sitting on power. And this is also what we've seen at other levels of government. You can replace the prime minister, but essentially the person who's going to take over will contribute to reproduce the system. And the same can be said about the Central Bank of Lebanon. It's very unlikely that someone will come in and take over who will secure dramatically more transparency than we've seen now.
And we obviously shouldn't forget the Lebanese people themselves. I mean, what's the public opinion like on him?
Well, one image perhaps that expresses the popular opinion about Riyad Salome very well is the signs that protesters have been carrying over the past years, saying Riyad Salome is a thief. There is a widespread belief among the Lebanese population that Riyad Salome has played a big role in robbing the country or of its resources and robbing the people of their resources. We have to remember most Lebanese, if not to say all Lebanese, have lost access to their savings. So they can't pay healthcare, they can't pay education. They're basically stuck in a situation where they will have to rely perhaps on relatives living outside the country. And they blame Riyad Salome for this, along with the rest of the members of the political elites who are as well involved in the corruption that has been going on for decades.
Well, Anne Kirstine Rønn from the Middle East Centre at the London School for Economics, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really interesting getting your insights on this.
Thank you.